Yeah. Your boys are back. We're here. CB, joined as always by my brother from the West Coast, E. Rich, Mr. Cali Cool. How you doing, my man?
Good, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Got a short week this week. Gonna make my way. Me and our boy our money are gonna be getting some golf in. And so he's down somewhere in Virginia right now, and I'm gonna meet up with him at the end of the week and get some swings in. So I'm looking forward to that. But you know, we're in the throes of the work week right now, and we're just trying to get by. how
Our
are things like that?
our money, aka Tommy of the crew. But no, same here. Like we talked real briefly about work. It seems like work is definitely working, life is life, and all that good stuff. But it's good to take a minute and do the show with my bro. You know what I'm saying? We have you and I can talk about this stuff all day, and
Right.
it's gonna be an interesting season this year, going back and forth. Just how every season is, but outside of that, I actually need to take some time. I was looking at either a Monday or, oddly enough, Tuesday is one of the days that I felt like the golf course is kind of it's not as packed, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I'm not out there trying to get a suntan, but I wear the bucket hat and look good, slicing them out. We had plenty of conversations about me flying the green, so we won't we won't get into that. We gotta get the show going.
Yeah. And the show, by the way, is We Are Something Else presents From the Cheap Seats. This is our, our weekly show, especially at least during the football season, where we're going to be, talking sports, stories from all around. It's not particular to, just the NFL or the NBA or anything like that. So we're going to be talking about everything. And we are going to be doing some live versions of these, and we love being interactive with all the homies. So thank you to everybody that tuned in last week and was in the chat, chopping it up and doing all that. But we might as well jump right into it. For the pregame, we are going to be talking about a few things, but what I want to start with is my man Shohei Ohtani was back in the news again. This time, him and his agent Nez Balelo find themselves on the other end of a lawsuit where apparently they were supposed to be a big part of this real estate project out in Hawaii. And to the point where Ohtani was going to have like one of the, I guess, 14 living spaces out there. One of them would be his. They were talking about having a like a small pitching and hitting like facility like within the community and stuff like that. But recently it came out, I guess, that they fired one of the developers and a real estate broker that were associated with the project, and they're the ones that are suing these guys. So Shohei, he's in the news again. Did you see this one?
I did see this one, and I just thought, like, damn, bro, you just got through, was it like 2 years ago, dealing with the guy that was like taking all your money? You know what I mean? Like when you have that much money, like I know it's like, oh well, but you gotta keep stuff closer to the vest. You know what I mean? And have probably just a solid individual that through the test of time, you know what I'm saying, is like that. And they even still have probably like a check or a backup to that person. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, with that type of money, but I think it takes away a little bit because like he just became a father. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing with his dog is a big deal out here as well. And dare I say, because I am a Dodger fan, yeah, they've been trashed lately. And I think they're taking the Angels on actually right now, although when this airs, it'll be done. Took an L last night, which is like crazy because we've been losing to them recently. Matter of fact, they took the series, but money management, bro. I think when you have that much money, it's like you're gonna run into people that's just gonna take you for your money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, unless you have somebody on the ground, watching every penny.
Right. It makes you a target, it like, and all these athletes, I think we've heard plenty of stories where it's not necessarily even the guys all the way at the top. Like Ohtani, his contract, his status within sports in general, not just baseball. You know, like he's a worldwide like type brand essentially. You know what I mean? So definitely a lesson here, and hopefully he doesn't get run for all his coins. Like I'm assuming that these dudes probably just feel salty in a way, but we'll see how this ends up playing out. We are going to keep things out in LA. I don't know who sets these stories up, who picks this stuff out, but Cameron Brink, she recently returned from a long absence from an ACL injury, and she has joined a very exclusive club, which is really just full of ballers. It's her, Candace Parker, I can't pronounce my one homegirl's name, but it's her.
Neko Obumike.
Yeah. Thank you. And who's my third girl? It was Lisa Leslie. Like,
yeah,
we're talking about like some of the greatest to play up in the front court. And so we're talking these are the only players faster to 150 points, 150 rebounds, or 150 points, and then it's like 50 steals and or blocks. And I mean, it's one of those things where it's super impressive because she was out for 13 months. So for her to still accomplish something like this, and I think she just had a game where she just kind of went crazy on the defensive end. Like she was blocking everything. So it's great to have her back. She's one of the more entertaining players within the game. So it's great that she's back from the injury and everything like that. And I think that this is just a good story. It's something that we want to highlight when the ladies are out here, breaking barriers and doing cool stuff like this. So, what'd you think hearing about Miss Brink doing her thing out there?
I think it was dope. It sucked because you saw the injury that she had last year, and you realized that she was actually catching a groove. Like, you know what I mean? She was actually getting to the point where, causing issues like her blocks. Like, and then the fact that I think they identified she had been to Steph Curry's camp, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where the turning of the WNBA of not just pretty faces, but they out there actually like hooping for real, you know what I mean? And they take it serious. So, I'm glad to see her back. And I think the Sparks are actually trying to make a run to like make it to the playoffs this year. And that would be good for her. If she's catching that, fresh legs, if you will, pun intended, because, she clearly she got injured. But, so I think it's a good story. And, I waiting to see what else that she can bring to the table in regards to the Sparks. They made some moves, and we'll see.
Yeah, I think that one, just in general, women's sports, I think since the Olympics, I think that the ladies really have been just doing their thing in all different sports. The ladies in track and field were killing it. And obviously the ladies in the WNBA, these ladies are showing that they are more than just a pretty face, because these women are gorgeous and they're just out here balling out. You know what I mean? So shout out to the ladies. And then the last story I wanted to talk about, because we are combat sport fans. And I myself have bought many a UFC pay-per-view in my time. But the story here is that model is done. It's over with. They are entering a 7-year, $7.7 billion deal with Paramount. So, as if you're paying for the Paramount Plus app, you'll have access to the pay-per-views and stuff when they come around. Unlike the situation currently where it's like you got to have ESPN Plus, and then you have the how do I want to say it? Like the privilege of spending like $80+ You know what? It's one thing for me to do that with the sneaker raffle. It's another thing for me to be like, damn, this is how I got to watch the fight. You know what I mean? So, Did you check in on this, and what are your thoughts on like the new model? Like basically pay-per-view's dead.
Yeah, I did see this, and I figured it would only be a matter of time because I think the WWE, if you will, was the one that was like the president of like once they got away from it, right? Um, all the major events used to be like one day. Now they're damn near like 2 days. Like SummerSlam's
Yeah.
like 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
I think Survivor Series, like
WrestleMania is 2 days.
yeah, right. It's like so much, and they realize streaming services are just ruling everything, right? It's more, if you dare say affordable, but the fact that it reaches out to a lot more masses, more money, and then that also equals more time of like people being able to watch it, right? Because again, it used to be you missed it, you'd have to wait for that replay, and that replay would run again like at 11 o'clock at night, and who's staying up to watch that shit, right? So, but I think this is just where we're at. It's what streaming service can offer the most money. I didn't see it going there. I did really. I thought ESPN or at least Disney would have made a play at this one, which is odd enough. But I mean, shit, $7 billion. If you got it, spend it.
Right. I like. I don't know. Maybe they're not trying to see Mickey Mouse in the octagon or something like that. But yeah, I think that it's a major shift. And you think about how like boxing, like how hard it is sometimes to find the fight that you're trying to find just because there's it's got to be on this specific network because this is the licensing deal, and like all these there's just a lot of bureaucracy around it now. So I do think that getting away from the pay-per-view model, making it a little bit easier to follow, because one of the things with all these streaming service options is like that's it. Like there are a ton of options. You can kind of like specifically pick and choose, what it is that you want. But that is going to lead me into one of the main stories I wanted to talk about here tonight, which is how the NFL announced, like, if you want to watch every single game, you basically need every single one of the streaming services that we have on the screen right here. Talk about this one.
Yeah, this is crazy. Like I saw this and I was just I remember I sent it to the crew and I was like, yo, you gotta be kidding me, right? Like we just got through last year talking about how DirecTV had the rights to the NFL Sunday package, right? Which is the Sunday ticket where you're able to watch all the out of, let me make sure they say this right, out of market games, right? Because again, if you fucking live over here and you want to watch the Raiders play, good luck with that unless it was on, national TV. But anyway, I digress. Now, YouTube TV bought the rights, got the contract, and now has that. So DirecTV, you can't even, it's not even an option. You can't even buy the option for these games.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, if I'm correct, 2 years ago, we had the very first, they switched Thursday nights from, it used to be NFL Network to now it's on, I think it's
Prime.
on Peak Prime. Yeah, it's on Prime. So it's like, okay, so now the ability to see and watch the games are now more like having to go back to, it's gonna date myself, but it's all right, having a fucking TV guide, right? Because remember, you used to have to look at the TV guide to figure out who was playing what because it wasn't all uniform. But back in the day, like I said, like ESPN or your ABC, your TNT, your whatever network had the games. Now you got to figure out which motherfucking streaming system got what, you know what I'm saying, and what time. But check this out. This is what, so currently you can watch some, that's how I'm breaking it out. You can watch some NFL on Hulu. Also, if you have Hulu TV or live, because Hulu does live sports. But again, that's typically just the regular basic kind of channels. You can do YouTube TV, which again allows you to watch all the games for a price. Peacock Sunday Night Football, right? Because they have that. You have ESPN Plus, which again is going to run, and I now know that I look at this, so they're doing the betting situation along with being able to watch and monetize on the game as the quarters are going on. Exactly. That's, more money. You got NFL Plus, which is like, for replays, but that's going over as well to Disney Plus, that whole nine. So and then again, it's just to the point where you have so many different platforms, and again, I think for us it's cool, but like for the older generation, like I remember my mom was like, what the hell? Like I have to go on Peacock to watch, this. I think it was the playoff game was the first time that they did the streaming service where you couldn't watch the
Yeah,
game,
the
which would have
Netflix
been that.
games too.
Yeah, yeah, it was like which would have been nationally televised is now on streaming services, and they
Right.
capitalized because they didn't lose any viewership with that. So here we are, and it also leads into kind of watching Shedeur,
Yeah.
right? What do you think about that as far as all the streaming services?
I mean, it's wild. I think the figure that I saw was that if you didn't like specifically time out when you were going to be investing in all these, say you did a full year for all of the services that are required for you to watch every game at one point, and it would run you like, I think it was over $1,100, like it just in subscriptions. You know what I mean? Like for the year, like damn, like that's what the NFL is doing. Like dang. But I mean, bro, I'll be honest. The main reason why I pay for YouTube TV is for the Sunday ticket. Like y'all know, I'm a fantasy football degenerate. I need to watch every game. We have 2 televisions in the man cave so that I can run Sunday ticket off of both of them and we can have 8 games going at the same time. Maybe there's only 7 games on, and then we got red zone going in the 8th box too. You know what I mean? Like
He ain't lying. I seen it. I seen the setup.
I mean, if y'all follow the Instagram or anything, like y'all will see once we get into the season, every Sunday you're gonna see me post it up with the double screen going on. Like it's the way that we live. And the thing is like I do pay already for a ton of these streaming services because it's also the way, like I'm a huge soccer fan. If I want to watch the Premier League, got to have Peacock. If I want to watch Champions League, better have Paramount Plus. If I'm trying to keep up with La Liga or the German League, you better got to have ESPN Plus. Like, so it's just like, dang, it really is a situation where, yeah, the older generation's kind of getting pushed out of some of this stuff. Because I remember like the first Thanksgiving where the night game, the primetime night game, was on NFL Network. And if you didn't have NFL Network, you didn't get to watch the night game. And it like, I remember that just being like, wow, like this is crazy. Like, how are they gonna like do that to people? Blah, blah. And this is way different. You know what I mean? It's like really pick and choose. Like, oh, maybe you're going to miss out on Sunday night football all the time, or, you're never going to see a Thursday night game, or whatever. So, I mean, I understand, and I'm kind of fascinated by the business side of all of this. Like that is something that actually does fascinate me. But as the end consumer, I'm just like, I would just love everything to just be in one place. You know what I mean? Like, let me just like have the Sunday ticket and not have to worry about everything else. But that's not the world that we live in, and we know it's about the coins. So, I do think that, like you said, a benefit will be, because I mean, I'm saying it now, so people can bring this back. They can bring it up. They can make fun of me for it or whatever, depending on how things work out, or give me my flowers. But Shedeur is going to start some games this year. Like he is going to start some games. It doesn't matter if right now Joe Flacco is playing the best. My man is 40, and as someone who's not quite 40 yet, but we might be 40 adjacent, the body doesn't recover like it used to. You know what I mean? Like it really doesn't. And Joe takes like one wrong hit from like a blindside blitz that he just doesn't catch, and we're going to be seeing some Shedeur time. Like I just believe that. And not necessarily because I think Flacco would end up playing bad. Like I just think that my man is 40 and I'm not putting money on him playing every game. Like I just don't think so. And so we got to see, he got to start. We got to see him start the first preseason game, and he held his own. It was not a perfect performance by any means, but threw some touchdowns. He made a couple plays. He hit the double spin move on the one joint and then lost like 3 yards or whatever because he ran out of bounds. Should have just thrown that thing away. But he looks like a rookie who has still, in my opinion, a lot of promise. So I know, because we were in the chat together, I know you were paying attention to the game. What were your thoughts? And honestly, because there are some people out here that don't think Shedeur, there's a chance he might not even make the team. And I don't see that. What's your take on that as well?
Well, I think it's an anomaly, right? Because they have, is it 5 quarterbacks?
And I think it's 6 technically, because they had to sign Tyler Huntley because of all the injuries.
That's right.
Because dude's been hurt. Dylan Gabriel's hurt. And I think because Flacco was missing maybe a little bit of time or something.
Right. Diddy's hurt.
Yeah.
And then there's
the massage monster.
Right. No, I think if he does see starting time, it needs to be after week 7, I believe. Because the first 5-6 games are against defenses that he should not want to just try out for the first year without having a little bit more time. And that's all respect to the team, right, that he's playing, but also give him an honest kind of run at this, right? Because I think it's the Steelers, I think it's the Jet, it's just all the defenses, Baltimore, all the teams that you don't want to see the very first year, right? Eventually. However, to be honest, bro, I think the owner is now in a position where he's gonna have to trade Shedeur, and it's gonna make the Browns look crazy. But hear me out, because in order, I think they released it today that he's still 4th on the chart, even after, because Dylan Gabriel didn't get a chance to play, which I think he's playing this next preseason game. Kenny Pickett,
my man,
whatever,
is as tall as me, bro. We don't got to worry about Dylan Gabriel.
And then that's crazy. And then you have Kenny Pickett. So you still have the 2 guys ahead of him that haven't seen the field, that they haven't made their assumption. So it's still the same order in which that comes with. But it's I think a team saw enough, and they knew what he was going to bring to the table. You know what I mean? It sucks that they do trade him to a team that he has to then kind of catch a rhythm with them or whatever. But listen, the tickets went from dirt cheap to damn near $100+ to go see him in preseason at a Carolina game, and there was more Shedeur and Shedeur jerseys than it was Carolina Panther jerseys. This is what you're gonna get with that, and he did do his thing. Like you said, I think even more so it was the post game interview where he said, I didn't take advantage of the whole process, right? I didn't get everything. There were some things I left on there, a couple of throws that he missed that, were easy throws. But if you look at it and you say, what quarterback still at year 4 or 5 that missing those kind of throws, you know what I mean? So not too critical, but I also think Cleveland bit off a situation where this is going to make their fan base hate them even more, unfortunately, right? Because you have to start them, right? Because if you don't, then you're going to have him sit the bench, and then what? You know what I mean? It's not going to look good optic wise from the owner standpoint of selling games in Jersey. If you're below 500, not winning, and you're still not playing him, and you have the 2 or 3 ahead of him that aren't producing any wins. And he might not even get in and win, but at least the hype that's going to be brought to the team itself is going to be enough. So,
as the fan of a franchise that has been in the gutter for most of my life, I think I can relate to Browns fans. Like, we just want something to be excited about, bro. Like, Myles Garrett is one of the best players in the entire league. But if we're being honest, the defensive players don't move the needle the same way as the best offensive players. You know what I mean? Like, it just is the reality of the situation. Every team is hungry for that quarterback. That quarterback that's going to be able to, try to lead them to the promised land, get them to the playoffs year after year, to give them that chance. You know what I mean? And like, I just think that the Browns as a fan base, they want Shedeur there, So if the ownership and the people in the front office are going to see it, really differently, because I think we all know, we saw the response in the draft room. They were not excited. No, like we saw it during this past draft of draft rooms where the rooms were like, oh, rah, rah, like this is crazy. You would think a dude that had first round hype, like you get him in the fifth, like one of these late rounds, you're not excited about that, So what I will say about the depth chart stuff is we are still in the period of the season where it literally means jack shit. Like, it doesn't mean anything. An example I'll bring up coming into this week for Denver, RJ Harvey, the rookie running back, was fifth. He started the game and played with the starters. So I'm not going to hold that in too much regard yet, because also as athletes, former athletes maybe is more accurate, but availability is an ability. So just because these dudes haven't gotten their chance to play yet because they've been hurt, that in itself is a problem. So if Shedeur is ready to go, these dudes' bodies are betraying them for whatever reason. What are you going to do, man? So I think that if they do move him, they cut him, they trade him, they do anything but keep him on the team, I think that, like, there's going to be fires and stuff in Cleveland, bro. Like, it's at least some excitement, man. And this guy, from everything that you read, regardless of what, like, people in the front office are saying, like, fans love this guy, like teammates love this guy. You don't really hear like this media portrayal actually like coming from the mouths of like his teammates and stuff. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I'm really excited, obviously, for the NFL season. Like it's like, my absolute favorite shit. So with that, let's talk a little fantasy before we close the show out and everything. But I believe you were going to tee me up.
Yep. So for the fans that watch the show, that are building their fantasy football team for the very first time or for a year, whatever that you're on, and if money league or not, one of the key things that that you have to look forward to is what pick you have in the first round. And today on NFL Network, they kind of did as they will do from now until the first damn week, and even after that they'll still be drafting. Said that Jamar Chase should be your number one pick, barring you have the actual number one pick in the draft in the fantasy football draft. But it got me to wanting to ask a question, which led from, I think it was last year, Christian McCaffrey was kind of like high pick, and then of course you know what happened with that. Who do you have a backup, knowing what position that you drafted in the first round, knowing that they have like the high profile players? Like, I think from 1 to 10 they've already identified, like, here are your 10 players that scored like the most fantasy points last year, right? So here's who you pick. do you deviate from that if that person is off the board, or do you just go directly with who you know?
Nah, great question. So when we're talking about first round, like this is one of those things where it ends up being one of the most important picks that you're going to make. Like, just there are certainly situations where you can come through and not hit on your first round pick and still do really well. You can still win a league off of that. But in general, you want these guys to be able to anchor your squad. Like, and a guy like Ja'Marr Chase certainly can do that. Like I was talking about last show, the format, the scoring format, the roster format, like all of that is going to play into who I would target in the first round. And depending on, what pick I had with the first pick, if I'm playing in any kind of points per reception league, any kind of PPR league, it's almost a foregone conclusion. Like, yeah, take the shot on Ja'Marr. Um, it's honestly difficult to go against a guy like that at this point, just because in almost every format, whether it's predominantly touchdown rewarding or if it is a league where you get points for receptions, because I play in a league, one of the 20-ish leagues that I play in is basically a touchdown only league. Like, you don't get hardly any points for yards. It's really all touchdowns. So you can have dudes that rack up all the counting stats, but it doesn't mean anything unless they're getting into the end zone. Ja'Marr Chase is a dude that's going to get into the end zone. You know what I mean? So you don't got to worry about it from that standpoint. And especially if it's a points per reception league, where what that means is every catch that the receiver gets, they get the points for the catch and they get the points for the yards, that they're typically going to get. Is Ja'Marr Chase not a dude that you are going to figure is going to be one of the top, at least like 3 guys in yards, touchdowns? He just won the Triple Crown. He was just literally number 1 in all of these things, right? So I think it makes sense. But the most important things are going to be, look at how you have to basically play, like what's the scoring format, and what's your roster construction, how many players do you need? Because if you play in like some kind of funny league where you need like 4 running backs, you have to start 4 running backs but only 1 wide receivers become a lot less more of a priority, because you need to start 4 running backs. It's going to run out that's why I bring it up. Like, you want to know if you need to start a certain number of players, that's going to have an impact on how you should kind of plan accordingly. But in the first round, the way to think about it is just best player available. Just like, you don't need to think about, oh, I'm going to build my team out like this. Just take the best player available. Or one of my other favorite strategies is just, take your favorite one out of the top 10, 12 guys. Like, just take your favorite ones. Like, I don't mean to then just pick your favorite players, because most people's favorite players might not actually be good for fantasy. But, look at some rankings. People have been hitting us up about like where you can go to find some of that information. Some of my favorite resources that are free, Fantasy Pros. And here's the thing, all these guys do have paid options. So if you really like what they're doing, throw those dudes some money. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm all about. Like, if you like certain content, support that. But Fantasy Pros, I really like the stuff that they do. For receivers specifically, everyone should look up reception perception. Matt Harmon does a really good job. But yeah, our dude Ja'Marr, man, I think that he is the guy.
It's funny because, and not going too deep into it, because again, this is our conversation after the pod is over. Fuck them, they gotta pay for that. Because in that sense, right? Because he was the Triple Crown. Like, do you like, as a, can we say, former athlete, right? That that defenses are now going to scheme, right? I mean, they did their best already. He was still top receiver, right? Disgruntled at that last year, right?
He got the bag.
He did, but you realize like it doesn't matter because, and this is where I look at it from the standpoint of like who's on the other side of the of the ball, like on like who's the other receiver, who's number 2, right, and number 3.
Mm-hmm.
If they can't just single out Jamar because and they double him, you're getting cooked by
T.
Higgins.
Higgins.
Yeah, right. And it's like, and that's how I kind of played it. Was like, listen, I might if Jamar's off the books, I'm still grabbing Higgins because I'm knowing that he's second in receptions and probably getting that touchdown that Jamar would have gotten because now the defense now is instructed to throw the safety over top of Jamar. So
Yep.
it's stuff like that that I kind of get into when I realize if that best player, like you said, is gone, I'm still looking at the offense, which they throw the damn ball all the time,
Yep.
right? And you look at, and that's what I look at. So again, not to give too much away because they got to pay for that, but yeah, that's why I had to ask the question. Like, and then of course, have you had a first round bite you in the ass when they were supposed to be Christian McCaffrey? So
Yeah. And I'll try to not make this too long here, but in back-to-back years in my main home league, so the league that I play with a bunch of the homies from like high school, and like these are some of my best friends in the world, I had the first overall pick 2 years in a row. It just we do a random number generator. We put everyone in order of how they finished the season before. Random number generator, hit that thing a couple of times, and then that's the order. I drafted David Johnson the year that he was supposed to be the next one up. Like he had just balled out the year before. And then my man goes and gets hurt in the very first game of the season. And basically submarined that entire season. So I go next year, and then just by chance, I get the first overall pick again. And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to run this shit back because I'm not going to have taken this dude with the first overall pick and not gotten anything out of him, and then risk the chance that he's healthy the next year. I pass on him and then he balls out. Like I'll be sick. So, with that flawed logic, I drafted him first overall again. And again, he was shit. Like it was one of those things where it was like, all right, well, he was a guy that he had one good season. Like he really had like 2 good seasons, a good season and a half, because his rookie season he was good. But yeah, that's the story where it's like, damn. Anyone that knows me knows that I also collect autographed football cards, and I have a specific collection for the players in fantasy football that have really done it for me. Like it's like my Hall of Fame. David Johnson's never sniffing that shit. That's what I'm gonna say. I do love DJ, but God, he hurt me in those 2 seasons emotionally, bro. Oh,
he still heard about that shit. I can hear it.
bro. But like, because it's one of those things. Like this is the league that's with my homies that like the ability to talk shit like actually matters. Like it means so much more to be able to talk trash to my best friends. So yeah, but we are running up against it. So I did want to close out in extra time. I wanted to talk about this. My man Pete Carroll came out here in support of my guy Geno Smith. He was in the post-game press conference, and one of the media members asked him, it was like, Geno was seen making an obscene gesture towards the fans, blah blah, like kind of like, how do you feel about it, like whatever. And Pete was like, I mean, did you see what the sign said? The guy said yes, and he said, all right, next question. And I'm like, yo, my thing that like this, I will say this every day for the rest of my life, and then when I'm 6 feet under. Us collectively as fans, like I'm not separating myself from this, I'm including us as fans. We are fucking idiots. Like we are dumb. Like, bruh. Like you like we come into these stadiums, we come into these arenas thinking that like it's our right to like talk or say things to these players or whatever. You know what I mean? Like honestly, I'd prefer for some of these dudes to get out of the stands onto the field, and see if they, can line it up. Like, bro, yeah, it's a lot. It's real easy to have your Twitter fingers in the fucking stands, talking shit to Geno. So, shout out to Pete for backing his quarterback. And, I'm not pandering to the West. I didn't put 2 LA stories and then a Raiders story on here just because of that. But, I know the Raiders are your squad. I know that. I know you were paying attention to this one.
Yeah, and it's crazy because so if you remove the whole like Raiders situation, he was in Seattle last year and did a hell of a job with whatever they had there and did well. So like how quickly fans are, what have you done for me lately? But it was like, bro, you guys were actually good last year compared to what probably is to come this year, right? Or whatever the case may be. But shout out to Coach Pete. He's always had his players' backs in the sense of from USC to Seattle when he was there, and I'm sure the Raider kind of stigmatism that we have, it used to be if you didn't have a felony or a misdemeanor, you couldn't be on the team. But Coach Pete is bringing that energy that was needed, almost kind of pre. Or after, Antonio Pierce, who's a traitor, because I saw that he's working for the Chiefs now, asshole. But hey, listen, it is what it is. It's football. But that's the type of coach that'll make you, like you said, kind of cliche, run through a wall.
Yep.
And then knowing that you'll want to play for him even more. And there's probably a rookie that saw that clip and was like even more so now, like crazy about it and buying into the system. And like I said, I can just hope for a solid year from the Raiders. And I won't get into any more of that because I don't want to be clickbait for nobody saying like he said they were going on. No, I've never said we're going all the way.
And shout out to Pete, man. Like he's not out here acting as old as he is. You know what I mean? Like this dude is still moving around real well. Yeah. Staying active is the fountain of youth, fam. So my last thing I'm gonna say before we sign off here is do something to like just move. You know what I mean? Like whether that's going out for a walk, getting a workout in, like just move. That's the fountain of youth. Staying active is a fountain of youth. That's what's gonna, keep us getting misaged when we're at the laundromat. So you got anything to sign off with, bro? Anything for the fans?
Nope, just save your chickens up, stop throwing dryer sheets as much as we used to, and like you said, take time for yourself. But no, for real, like shout out to all our sponsors, which maybe we'll put into the segment eventually because we got to pay some bills. Shout out to the bro Cleo, and again, man, listen, we here, definitely reach out to us, DM us your questions, fantasy questions, and even segments you might want us to talk about, or sports that you might want us to talk about, and we'll make it happen because this is real shit.
We're for the people, man. So shout out to DC Shy Pie, shout out to D Cup Customs, Gen X TV, all the homies, producer K. We are something else from the Chiefsies. We'll be back. We love y'all. Peace.